Faces of Breast Cancer, brought to you by the Community Cancer Center.
The Community Cancer Center has served Greater Douglas County since 1980. Our state-of-the-art comprehensive cancer treatment facility specializes in radiation and medical oncology and is well known for maintaining the highest standard of care. Beyond medical treatment, the center provides an extensive range of support services. Look for a public open house in early next year to learn about amazing new radiotherapy technology. For more information, give us a call or visit cccroseburg.org.
The following program is brought to you commercial-free by the Community Cancer Center in Roseburg.
You hear the word cancer and you think, your world goes dark and nothing's ever the same.
Breast cancer kills a lot of people in this country, and 2% of all breast cancer in this country are men that we know of.
You just have to be aware of what's going on in your body and really push. If you feel like something's not right, go get it checked out.
I'm finally learning what one day at a time really means. It is one day at a time.
Every year in Oregon and across the country, breast cancer touches lives and unfortunately takes lives. Hello, I'm Kelly Warner. Behind the statistics is the human side of the disease. The people whose lives have been forever changed with their diagnosis, the doctors and researchers who work tirelessly to stop the disease in its tracks, and the people who are simply there to lend an ear and say, "You're not alone." These are the faces of breast cancer.
I'm Kat Walcott. In the next 30 minutes, you're going to meet some extraordinary and inspiring people. They are survivors, and they are why Komen, Oregon has worked so hard here in our local communities to bring awareness to breast cancer, a disease that at one time no one wanted to talk about. Now it's become a community discussion, and the Eugene Race for the Cure is now an annual show of solidarity. It's a commitment offering hope and support and funding the development of life-saving treatments. The reality is, every week in Oregon, more than 50 people will be told they have breast cancer, and unfortunately, 10 people will die. Since Komen began its work here in our state, the percentage of women who now get regular screenings has doubled, and 5-year survival rates has increased from 74% to 99% when the cancer is caught early. We've come a long way, but we can't stop yet.
Cancer disrupts lives and changes them, plain and simple. For one Springfield mom, breast cancer not only caught her by surprise, it found her when she was 6 months pregnant. She's 35 years old, no family history of the disease. Suddenly, what should have been a time of joy was overshadowed with worry and a lot of questions that couldn't be answered until she delivered.
He loves a snuggle.
Sara Hense is now a mom of 3. Little Grant arrived in the middle of September, joining big brother Brock and big sister Claire, and bringing relief to his parents. Relief that he's healthy.
Deep inside, I was like, okay, there's a chance something could go wrong, but he was born just healthy, and I was just so emotional that first day. It was just like such a relief. It was great.
What little Grant doesn't know is that his mommy has breast cancer. Sara discovered a lump in the middle of her pregnancy.
You never know, and you don't think, everyone's like, oh, it won't happen to me. Well, I didn't necessarily think that cancer wouldn't happen to me, but I didn't think cancer would happen to me now.
When I first met Sara this summer, she was getting her nursery ready, doing her best to stay positive for herself and her family.
We have our moments where we cry and we get emotional and we worry, but we tackle it together and we move on and take one day at a time.
She'd already undergone 3 rounds of chemotherapy, but being pregnant, doctors couldn't give her some of the tests or medications needed to treat her cancer. So Sara had to wait. She went 5 weeks without any treatment at all so she could deliver her son.
With no treatment for 5 weeks, there's always that lingering wonder, is it gonna start growing again or whatnot? So I would like to kind of get the show on the road, get it taken care of.
1 week later, baby Grant was delivered as scheduled by C-section. But there's a lot that's changed in Sara's life besides the size of her family. Cancer has changed her perspective. Watching her family and friends rally around her, holding fundraisers to help pay her medical bills, was humbling. But she says now she has a greater faith in the goodness of humanity and compassion for other survivors.
It's overwhelming. You never know how many friends you have, No, don't ever think you're alone, because you're not. There's so many people that are willing to help and step up. Yeah.
Since Grant was born, doctors have run a complete set of scans and tests on Sara. the test she couldn't have while she was pregnant. It's good news.
It has not spread. All my tests came back normal.
The cancer is still there, and Sara will have more chemotherapy, then a mastectomy and radiation. But she says she now knows for sure just what she's facing. And she has one more incredible reason to give everything she's got to the fight.
He's special. We've been through a lot, and we're going to go through a lot as a family.
Sara is now undergoing her next round of chemotherapy, and we appreciate her sharing her story. She says her advice to other women is this: be aware of your body, and if you notice something isn't quite right, don't wait. See your doctor.
No one plans for breast cancer, it just happens, and then suddenly you realize it's not only about treatment, it touches so many parts of your life. Katie Burke was told she was too young to have breast cancer, but she found herself facing it head on. She was just married and she wanted to be a mom. Suddenly, cancer was calling the shots, not her.
If you asked Katie and Cameron Burke what life has been like since they got married 6 years ago, their response will likely be, where should we start?
We got our sickness and health out of the way, hopefully.
Yeah, well, yeah.
At age 23, just 3 months after she said I do to the love of her life, Katie found a lump. It turned out to be an aggressive form of breast cancer. Suddenly, this couple who had plans to start a family were facing an uncertain future. But Katie's always been a very determined person, so she chose to face the cancer head-on and have a double mastectomy. She admits it was a difficult time, and she felt guilty that Cameron had a wife with cancer, not something he signed up for.
Because as a survivor, everybody's worried about you. They're, how are you doing? How's everything going? How was surgery? But nobody ever asks the co-survivor. I mean, nobody does.
Yeah, you learn to just carry it. And people, you know, they'll say things like, well, you know, that's really great that you stuck in there. You know, a lot of people don't stick around for that. And I guess it's true, but I never really saw it as an option.
Their goal was to get Katie well. And after her treatment, she realized cancer gave her something she didn't expect, a new focus.
Hi, this is Katie.
She returned to school so she could help others dealing with cancer. And she became a patient navigator at the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute. She's not a social worker, but she is a shoulder to lean on and a source of information.
And my job is to be their walking resource center and their cheerleader.
She's a cancer concierge.
Yeah, that too.
Despite her successes, there's one thing Katie and Cameron still wanted: to start a family. But chemotherapy put Katie into early menopause with no guarantee it would reverse itself.
But the doctor said, no, you shouldn't have a problem, but there's not a lot of studies for young adults, and so it was always a fear.
After a year of treatment and 5 more on hormone blocker medication, Katie's body responded. And guess what? The Burke family will be adding some new genes this January.
Katie and Cameron recently found out that they're having a girl, and that is one more reason Katie and her team will be celebrating at this year's Race for the Cure in Eugene. Katie also started a support group several years ago for young women like herself going through cancer. That support group is still going strong.
The fight against breast cancer is a fight waged every day, and that work has actually become more challenging because breast cancer is no longer a hot new issue, and the economy has made fundraising harder. Each dollar you help raise at the Eugene Race for the Cure gets us one step closer to ending breast cancer for good and supporting men and women in our local communities who are fighting this disease. To date, Komen, Oregon has invested more than $29 million here in the state. It's provided free screenings for uninsured or underinsured women and helps them pay for treatment if they need it. Komen has also invested in survivor support programs and education, and it's funding critical research. In fact, Komen is the largest non-governmental funder of breast cancer research in the world. And here in Oregon, you don't have to look far to see how that research is saving lives.
Inside the lab at Providence Cancer Center in Portland, scientists are onto something big.
But what we find is that when our immune cells reach the tumor, they're actively shut down.
Through a grant from Komen, Oregon, Dr. Michael Goff is learning what makes breast cancer cells tick and what prevents our body's natural fighter, our immune system, from fighting back.
I think that the pathways that we've identified that seem to suppress the immune system in the tumor need to be combined with new therapies that can boost it.
Down the hall, Dr. Keith Badgett is working with another Komen grant to develop those therapies, medicine that can jumpstart the immune system and target the cancer.
We have patients that are getting those drugs either whether it's an approved drug that they're getting from their oncologist or they're on a clinical trial here. And so we're able to study the effects of those drugs on the immune system in the patients.
Dr. Goff and Dr. Badgett have each lost family members to cancer, so this mission is both scientific and personal.
It's true that no one is today going to be helped by the therapies I'm working on today, but I think when people raise money for cancer and when people participate in Race for the Cure, I think we all know that we're working to make the future more effective, making therapies for friends and family in the future. Yeah, I've got 2 little girls and I want treatments for them.
Without contributions to the research process from organizations like Komen, that none of this would be going on.
20 years ago, the National Institutes of Health funded 70 to 80% of cancer research. That funding has been drastically cut, and now only 20 to 30% comes from the federal government. Charitable organizations like Komen now fund the majority of breast cancer research. Scientists here in the lab want you to know they're making progress. We may not see the small steps, but over the decades, this work is significant.
Now we're finally in 2014 seeing these drugs that don't target the cancer, they target the immune system and they enhance the immune response so the immune system can kill your cancer. There are now a series of brand new immunotherapies hitting the clinic for patients, things that just didn't exist a few years ago.
And they say they're not done yet.
Susan G. Komen for the Cure has invested more than $800 million in breast cancer research, more than $11 million right here in Oregon.
You might not know this, but 2% of the people diagnosed with breast cancer every year are men. Let's be honest, it's not what you would call a macho disease. Most guys don't talk about it because they don't think it will happen to them. Will Roth certainly didn't think he could get breast cancer, and then he did.
Every year like clockwork, Will Roth takes part in the Race for the Cure. He blends into the sea of supporters, all here to fight breast cancer. But look closely at his pink bib number. Will is a survivor.
So, you know, the more we talk about it, the better chance we have of eliminating the stigma of gender and letting all people know that they're at potential risk.
8 years ago, Will found a lump in his chest. When doctors told him it was cancer, he underwent a mastectomy, and life as he knew it transformed.
I make the joke that, you know, the surgery was my golf surgery because it weakened my right side and I don't slice as bad as I used to, you know. You have to laugh, right? So, so I still call it my golf surgery, but my slices come back a little bit.
Will is now heavily involved in the Race for the Cure, raising money for Komen, Oregon, for education, services, and research. He's not above begging on Facebook, even playing the ukulele on the street corner for donations. He wants people to know that breast cancer can strike anyone at any time, because when you know that, you pay attention and lives are saved. The Oregon Ducks football team wore pink helmets during a game last October to highlight Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But Will says while that was great, they may have missed an opportunity to really reach their male fans.
And I was so proud that they did that. I think it's great that they donned themselves in pink and talked about breast cancer, but they didn't talk about men with breast cancer. Would have been a nice touch.
Will never imagined he would be so vocal about a disease until his life depended on it. Now, you might say he's a man on a mission to get other guys talking about this taboo topic.
There's still a lot of men that won't go and get screened, that won't go and get checked, that will say, oh, there's something wrong, but I'm just going to ignore it because that's much like a man to put it off until maybe it's too late. And as a result, the mortality rate of males with breast cancer is much higher than it is women.
Will's been fighting breast cancer for 8 years now, and that's why he feels so passionate about talking about the disease with other men. Right now, Will and his wife are in Australia for 3 weeks. They were invited there on behalf of an Australian breast cancer organization to help spread awareness.
Cancer doesn't care who you are, what you do for a living, or how you treat others. And when it strikes, we're often left asking why. A local music teacher was devastated by her diagnosis. She's already watched cancer take her mom. But even having gone through that, she says breast cancer was not on her radar.
Before the first bell rings for the day, Elisa Kincaid and her students at Marist High School are making music.
I feel like music is a language that speaks to everybody, and to be able to be the one playing the music is really an opportunity and a gift. 3, 4.
Earlier this year, Elisa received another gift. She survived breast cancer, a diagnosis she never saw coming.
I was in this room when I got the news.
Elisa was actually 6 months overdue for her annual mammogram when she finally made an appointment. Ironically, the timing couldn't have been better.
Well, it was a slow-growing tumor, and had I gone in at a year, they probably would not have detected it. And the fact that I was 6 months later, it was big enough that they could detect. Had I waited another 6 months, it would have been huge.
Elisa relied on her faith in God to get her through it. Still, she was scared.
Yeah, I was terrified. My mom died of ovarian cancer 10 years before this happened, almost to the date, and I was terrified.
After losing her mom, Elisa took precautions. She had her ovaries removed to prevent the possibility that she would get ovarian cancer too. So breast cancer, that took her by surprise.
I know what got me through on a day-to-day basis was my family, the people I work with, and the kids I teach.
And if there's one positive that comes with having cancer, it's being reminded what's important in life.
The little things mean so much now. I am not as anxious about life as I used to be. Nice, very beautiful. The best thing about this, I think, was showing strength to my daughters. And I hope I set an example for them. 2, 3, 4.
There is life after cancer, and Elisa plans to live it to the fullest, enjoying every sweet sound.
Elisa underwent surgery and radiation earlier this year, and she's doing great. And she believes now more than ever in the importance of getting regular screenings.
Think of the 8 women you are closest to. Now imagine this. One of them will get breast cancer in her lifetime. Catching it early could save her life. There's a lot of attention given to breast cancer during the month of October, but doctors say this is something women need to think about year-round. The fact is, early detection saves lives. The sooner breast cancer is detected, the better your chances of beating it. Local doctors urge you to get regular screenings, and breast exams should start at age 20.
Just because you're young doesn't mean you're not going to get breast cancer. So it's important even when you're young to get exams. Every 3 years they recommend starting at age 20, and then starting for mammograms it's age 40.
Find out if you have a family history of breast cancer. If you do, you may need to be screened earlier than age 40. Ask your doctor which tests are right for you. Once you're 40, schedule a mammogram and have one every year. And you have to know what's normal for you. Do a self-breast exam every month so that you'll be able to tell if something changes. The 2 biggest risk factors for getting breast cancer are being a woman and getting older. But there are at least 20 other factors, and maybe more, that are linked to the increased risk of getting the disease. The positive news, you can control many of them, and you can start by protecting your body from the inside by taking a new look at your plate.
Who doesn't love a great meal? Whether we're celebrating or socializing, food is often right in the middle of it. But to give your body the best protection against disease, the more colorful your plate, the better.
Get a rainbow of colors in your diet.
Shelley Cochler is a registered dietitian who specializes in helping people dealing with cancer. She holds regular workshops at the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute, teaching about the new American plate, a concept that makes vegetables, whole grains, beans, and legumes the star of the show, roughly 2/3 of your meal, and puts meat in more of a supporting role.
And we also actually recommend limiting red meat, which is beef, pork, and lamb, to no more than 18 ounces per week. There is convincing evidence that red meat and the processed meats probably increase our risk of colon cancer.
The concept of the new American plate was developed by the American Institute for Cancer Research. It highlights the importance of eating more fruits and vegetables. They contain a host of substances called phytochemicals, which reduce the risk of chronic disease.
So, which could include cancer, heart disease, diabetes.
Another advantage to the new American plate approach?
It tends to be higher in fiber, lower in fat, lower in sugar, and all of that can actually help promote weight loss.
And reaching a healthy weight and maintaining it significantly reduces your risk of disease, including breast cancer.
Another tool in your arsenal when it comes to reducing your risk of cancer: Exercise. We all know moving is good for us. After all, our bodies were not designed to be sedentary. But there's a lot of new information over the last several years that shows being active has significant benefits that can protect you against the disease. For people going through cancer treatment, regular exercise can reduce side effects from medication and chemotherapy. But on top of that, it improves mood, blood flow, and boosts energy. And listen to this, if you do get cancer, getting regular exercise can lower your chances of the disease coming back. And if you're not used to getting regular activity in your day, just start slow.
5-10 minutes, that's all you need to do. And if you get tired, as my patients often do, I tell them to stop. Rest. Your body will tell you what it needs. And if you split your exercise up into 2 or 3 pieces, that's okay too. One thing that's helpful is if you're a little bit sweaty when you're done, and that's kind of the measure. Did you increase your heart rate enough to get some benefit from it?
Also, how long do you sit during the day? Researchers have found the more you sit, the higher your risk of cancer.
So even just changing in your daily life, your work environment in particular, how many hours do you spend at a desk where if you could get up and be at a standing workstation, you're actually going to lower your cancer risk.
Radiologist Dr. Julie Gemmel practices exactly what she tells her patients. Avoid sitting when you can. She's gotten rid of her computer chair and now uses a stand-up workstation in her daily practice.
If there's one woman who knows just how important exercise is, it's Cerise Wessel. Several years ago, she got introduced to CrossFit and fell in love with it. It changed her body and taught her that she is strong, but she never realized just how strong until she came face to face with one of her toughest obstacles.
2, 1, go!
3 or 4 times a week, Cerise Wessel and her daughter Megan work out at CrossFit Intensify in Springfield.
All right, here we go. Round 3.
They push themselves, they sweat, and they enjoy every minute of it. Because last year, they didn't know if any of this was in their future.
You hear all your life, if you've got your health, you've got everything. And it really, when your health is down, it affects everything.
We first met Cerise last year while she was undergoing treatment for breast cancer, and 14-year-old Megan admits she was scared she might lose her mom.
I was kind of feeling on my own, and that one piece of support that I had was just had a possibility of going away.
I think when it very first hit, one of the things that I consciously thought was I going to teach Megan how to live or how to die?
It was a tough year. Chemotherapy made Cerise's hair fall out, and she wore a wig. She underwent a mastectomy and radiation, and some days she struggled to get her body to move, let alone exercise. But she never lost her will to fight, and when she needed strength and inspiration, she knew exactly where to find it, right here at CrossFit.
So even in my darkest days, I'd come in and I'd sit on the couch and just watch people, and I'd think, yeah, I'll come back.
Megan spent about a year living with other family members who could care for her while her mom underwent treatment. The separation was difficult, and this teenager carried a lot on her shoulders trying to be strong for her mom.
That can get really overwhelming as a kid to try and do everything by yourself, except the support and the help.
Now, Cerise and Megan are living together again, and they value every minute that they spend together. Cerise's energy is coming back, but she's frustrated with her body's limitations.
And I think if I notice anything, it's that I have this point in time where my body just shuts down. It's like, okay, we're done for today, lay down, and we'll start again tomorrow. And I used to be able to push through and just keep going, keep going.
She still keeps going, but at a softer pace than what she's used to. Still, every day is another day of healing and another day to be thankful.
I am extremely proud of both of us. We've been through a lot, and, she's gotten herself back up and, picked herself up.
You need to just take it as you can. Every day is a blessing, and do what you can.
When we spoke with Cerise last year, her goal after treatment was to get back into shape, and she really wanted to be able to deadlift 160 pounds. She doesn't know if that will happen, but she's hoping to get back to running. Right now, she's enjoying hiking and biking on the weekends with her daughter.
Watching someone you love go through breast cancer is excruciatingly difficult. Losing them is agony. One Lane County man channeled his loss into helping others. If you ask Rich Truitt to describe his wife Sandy, he'll tell you she loved her family, the outdoors, and helping others. 3 weeks before her scheduled mammogram, Sandy found a lump that turned out to be breast cancer, and worse yet, it had spread to her lymph nodes. Sandy underwent a mastectomy and enrolled in a clinical trial for a drug that's now approved called Herceptin. Rich is convinced that drug bought Sandy 4 to 5 extra years she may not have otherwise had. While undergoing chemo treatment, Sandy and Rich met lots of other people here at Willamette Valley Cancer Institute. And because cancer treatment is expensive, they heard a lot of stories of people struggling financially.
My wife came home one day, and one of the people she was good friends with that was going through treatment was going to have to miss treatment because she didn't have tires for her car and she couldn't afford them. So Sandy found a way to get the tires for her and do it anonymously.
Rich is now doing his part to help people dealing with this devastating disease. He's been involved with the American Cancer Society and serves on the board that decides which research projects to fund each year. And now he also serves locally on the board of the Oregon Cancer Foundation. That foundation, through the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute, provides temporary funds so that no one dealing with cancer in Lane County has to choose between basic needs and treatment. We've put a link to more information on the foundation under the news tab on KMTR.com.
A local florist started a very unique fundraiser 3 years ago to support the Oregon Cancer Foundation, and they're ready to do it again. It's called Bras for a Cure, and it's held at Dandelions Flowers and Gifts in Eugene. The concept is pretty simple. Decorate a bra, pay a $10 entry fee to be part of the contest, and then let the public decide the winner. What makes this so fun is how creative these entries are. Past creations have used everything from feathers, sequins, tin can lids, artificial fruit, you name it. It's a fun way to lighten up a serious issue.
And I think people can relate to that because there's so much heaviness surrounding this, whether you're going through this or assisting someone who is going through this or have a family, whatever. That really, if we can do something that's sort of upbeat and fun, people really have enjoyed that component of it, I think.
Entries for this year's competition are being accepted through October 18th at Dandelions Flowers and Gifts on Chambers in Eugene. A reveal party will be held on Tuesday, October 21st, kicking off the public voting. Each dollar you donate gets you a vote, and prizes will be awarded to the winning creations. Last year, Bras for a Cure raised over $3,000, all of which stays local to help breast cancer survivors.
One weekend every summer, softball players from all across Oregon gather for a tournament in Salem. They come armed with bats and gloves, but most importantly, a willingness to do what they can to support breast cancer survivors. This is the 13th year Play for a Cure has been held at Wallace Park. With lots of help, Chris Knox started this tournament in honor of her mom, Linda, who died from breast cancer. It was 8 years later that Chris herself was diagnosed with the disease. This past August, 36 teams gathered for this year's event, playing nearly 100 softball games in 3 days. They kept score, but the trophies were awarded to teams who raised the most money. Since the tournament began, Play for a Cure has contributed close to $200,000 to the work Susan G. Komen is doing here in Oregon. And once again, Play for a Cure will present another check to Komen at this year's Eugene race. They can't tell us exactly how much it's for yet because they're still raising money as we speak. Here's your chance to join the fight. Join us for this year's Komen Race for the Cure in Eugene. The 4th annual event will take place on Sunday, October 12th at Autzen Stadium. The 5K fun run starts at 8:30, followed by the 5K fun walk and a 1-mile family walk. This year, there will be even more focus on celebrating the survivors of breast cancer, and of course there'll be plenty of fun. Race for a Cure is a chance for the community to stand together and fight together, with the hope that the days in which breast cancer changes lives and takes lives are numbered.
We want to thank everyone who shared their stories with us in the last 30 minutes. It's not easy to talk about something as personal as cancer, but they did it because they know it's important, and maybe what they've shared can save someone else's life.
We hope if there's one thing you can take away from this broadcast, it's that you are the #1 advocate for your health. Early detection saves lives, so don't put off those regular screenings. Take this opportunity to empower yourself and take a stand.
We're strong and united. We'll never be divided. By heaven we're guided. Make a better day.
Faces of Breast Cancer was brought to you commercial-free by the Community Cancer Center in Roseburg.